Janie Porter Barrett, an exemplary African-American correctional educator. Janie Porter was born in Athens, Georgia in 1865. She was the daughter of an African-American domestic servant and seamstress. Her father remains unknown, as he may have even been a white man. She grew up in Macon, Georgia, where her mom worked for a white woman named Skinner, who treated Porter like family. Even when Porter's mother moved out, she remained living with Skinner. She could have gone north to receive schooling, but her mother had her go to Hampton Normal and Agricultural Institute. This institute was the first of the self-help training schools for freed people. Janie Porter graduated from Hampton Institute in 1884. In 1888, she attended Lucy Laney's Haynes Normal and Industrial School. In 1889, she married Harris Barrett. Barrett was involved in her community. She funded activities for local girls, and on her and her husband's land, they created a clubhouse and also established the Locust Street Social Settlement House. In 1908, Barrett helped fund the Virginia State Federation of Colored Women's Clubs and also served as its first president until 1932. After funding this, Barrett was especially concerned about the horrible conditions in which most African American children were raised. During her leadership at Virginia State Federation of Colored Women's Clubs, they took charge of this concern, along with many others. In 1912, they held their first conference, and this initiated Barrett to start fundraising for a school, especially for delinquent African American girls. After successful fundraising and donations, $5,000 had been raised for this cause, and the Virginia State Federation of Colored Women's Clubs bought a farm in Hanover County and created the school for girls. Many white residents opposed to having the school built near their home, but Barrett promised she would take charge of the school, but if it did pose trouble for the residents, she would move. In January 1915, the Virginia Industrial School for Colored Girls opened after the General Assembly donated another $3,000. The Virginia State Federation of Colored Women's Clubs owned and ran the school for girls. A large board of visitors included both black and white people. Unfortunately, soon after the opening, Barrett's husband died of a stroke, but she continued to pursue all of her involvement with her community. Barrett's main goal was to help girls develop Christian character and follow the honor system. She believed in using rewards instead of punishments and reinforced that the school should feel more like home rather than prison. All the activities provided agricultural and household skills and cleanliness. All girls needed to work on either farms or as domestics until they were able to establish their own homes. Barrett was described as the glue that kept all the various programs together. One of Barrett's greatest struggles was preventing her former students from exploitation by employers looking for cheap labor. She was able to gather support from private sources in Virginia legislature, but continued to struggle with this problem. The school's funding relied so much on donations, therefore struggled providing adequate materials for the girls. In 1921, they were gifted a large stove for heat in winter, but 6 years after their opening. During this time, Barrett wrote that they were still in need of more maps, more desks, and more school books. Barrett worked in extremely impoverished conditions. The Journal of Correctional Education states that Barrett emerged on the scene at a time when her people had almost nothing. As a result of hundreds of years of systematic brutality, the condition of African Americans was as if they had just emerged from an intense war. Barrett was forced to face a series of hardships, especially with unequal funding between black and white schools. Even after 16 years of being open, Barrett still reported her school needing more basic needs and materials. The school lacked shoes and sweaters in the winter, needed more literary and industrial teachers, farm animals, and most importantly, mental tests for their girls. Barrett found success in connecting clubs with education primarily through her own experiences with clubs at her Locust Street Settlement House. These clubs did much more than entertain their members. They gave a communal structure for informal learning and also built on pro-social and pro-educational identities. The industrial homeschool for colored girls followed self-help traditions modeled from the social settlement movement. These practices included honor systems, banning use of corporal punishment, and keeping them busy to avoid bad behavior. Barrett once wrote, "Sunday is such a hard day for the girls to get through without getting in trouble. If I don't give them something to do, Satan will." Barrett understood the need of continual support after their structured life at the school. The plan of the school is not to allow any girl who had been released live an immoral life. If a girl was not self-respecting, she had to come back until she learns to be. Therefore, Barrett kept in touch with her students by writing and receiving monthly reports. Barrett claimed that complete success depended on whether the girls were placed in Christian homes where they could be helped until they were strong enough to be on their own. Gradually, the Institute received recognition and praise for their success. In 1920, the state assumed control of the school, although Barrett continued her position as the superintendent until her retirement in 1940. During the 1920s, the Russell Sage Foundation recognized the Industrial Home School for colored girls as one of the best facilities in the nation. Barrett was active in the Richmond Urban League as well as the Virginia Commission on Interracial Cooperation. She believed voter preparation was just as important as institutional programming for girls. In 1938, Barrett wrote, "Voting is a duty as well as a fight." Barrett was on the chair of the National Association of the Colored Women's Executive Board. In 1929, she received the William E. Harmon Award for Distinguished Achievement Among Negroes. A year later, she was invited to the White House Conference on Child Health and Protection. After retiring, she moved back to the Hamptons and died in 1948 at the age of 83 years old. In 1950, the institute was renamed Janie Porter Barrett School for Girls. In 1965, the school began racial integration, and in 1972, coeducational programming. In 1977, the school became Barrett Learning Center for Boys, and by the early 2000s, the ever-changing institute became a correctional training academy. Janie Porter Barrett was a civil rights advocate because of her ability to give her students an educational experience that was correspondent to that of the white public schools. Her entire life's work was dedicated to educating and serving delinquent African American girls and also fighting against racism and social injustices.